This is from my first book, and she lived locally for a while. I love her story, Biddy Mason. She was born enslaved, and she started out being sold to someone up in Missouri. And then that owner, who was a Mormon, decided he wanted his entire family and all the enslaved people to move to Utah, which was 1,700 miles. And of course, the enslaved people were not allowed to go in the wagons. They had to walk. So she walked that 1,700 miles with a newborn baby on her back. And her daytime job was herding the cattle. And her nighttime job was cooking for everyone. And then she was also the nurse and midwife, a skill that she'd learned from the other enslaved people on the property. Later, the owner wanted to move to California. And that's where the Bay Area comes in. At the time, California was a free state, but just because an enslaved person crossed the border, that did not make them free. They stayed there for 5 years in the Bay Area, and then the owner wanted to move to Texas. Texas was a slave state. She didn't want to go, and so she had friends of hers help her. What she had to do was go to the sheriff, tell him to put her in jail so that her owner couldn't take her. And then she had to sue. It became very, very complicated, but she eventually did get her freedom and then later moved down to LA. While down there, she'd been saving her money. And so she bought a house. Her friends showed her how to buy a house. And then she bought another house. And then she bought some property. And by the time she died, she was one of the wealthiest women in LA. Not only was she wealthy, but she also gave back to her community by creating daycare for Black children, because of course they weren't allowed in regular daycare. And also she created soup kitchens. She donated land for a church, helped fund building of the church, and then supported that church until she died. And churches were very, very important to Black people at the time because that was their community. That's how they could get together and learn things and help support each other.